What's going on, guys? Back here again with another video, and obviously I only uploaded my last YouTube video a couple of days ago, so that's probably led you to think, who the bloody heck are you and what have you done with Nick? Given my track record with upload frequency in the past when it comes to YouTube, it's been pretty dismal, and that's probably the grand understatement of the year. Nonetheless, I'm really trying to turn a new page, turn a new leaf this time around, and really stick to my guns when I say I want to try upload a lot more frequently to YouTube this time. So alas, here is the second video in the span of a few days. So this is my arm session. I actually recorded this yesterday, so it was recorded on the 25th of July, Monday, and it's now Tuesday morning as I do this voiceover, and hopefully this video will be up, if all things go to plan and scheduled today, by the end of today. But yeah, I figured I'd just walk you through my current arm session, my current training block, and touch on a few different things. Initially, I'll just explain why I'm actually training arms at the start of the week as opposed to toward the middle or the end, because it's typically when people train arms toward the end of the week. It's like, oh, do the big body parts at the start of the week and then do the small body parts toward the end of the week. And also just touch on little things that I'm doing throughout the session and why I'm doing them. But to quickly brush over why I'm training arms at the start of the week, it's because one, the first order principle, if you train something first in the week or first in a session, you're going to give it more effort and attention usually. You're going to be less mentally fatigued, mentally exhausted or drained going into it, because you've just had a couple of days rest on the weekend and it's your first training session back in the gym, so motivation and drive is usually a little bit higher. And because arms are also a priority body part of mine at the moment, in addition to hamstrings being the second priority body part and then chest being a close third, I want to train arms at the start of the week. If something is a priority, you usually do it at the beginning as opposed to the end. Common sense, but there's a lot of literature to support the first order principle in that you're going to actually see improved effort, results in whatever you train first. Typically first in a session, but I also think it applies to a weekly kind of timeline as well. But yeah, training arms here. I begin with triceps because out of my triceps and biceps, triceps are definitely the lagging part, and it's something that I really need to focus on bringing up. Biceps still aren't anything substantial or majorly impressive, but a lot of that has to do with my actual insertions and attachments of my biceps. They're always going to look somewhat small from certain angles and then somewhat big from other angles. But triceps are definitely the part of the arm that I'm really trying to add the most meat on. In addition to that, they also, I hate saying this because it sounds so trite and people say it all the time, but your triceps make up the majority of the mass of your overall upper arm. So the upper arm being the humerus, the humeral bone of the arm, the muscle on that part of the arm is predominantly comprised of tricep tissue, contractile tissue, and then also biceps. But because the tricep has three heads, it's obviously got a greater potential to I suppose accumulate size and overall mass, and yeah, so I'm training that first. I started with a rope tricep extension or tricep pushdown, which you would have seen just beforehand. Now I'm doing a rope overhead tricep extension. These bias different heads of the tricep, so they're slightly different in terms of the outcome or what I'm achieving from doing them, but all in all, they're all just targeting the tricep at the end of the day. But I try to get a variety of movements in because obviously different body parts have more than one function or action, and if you want to fully maximize the potential for growth in any given muscle group in the body, then you want to train it with load through all of its different actions. And yeah, I can definitely say that since I started training arms directly over the last year and a half, 2 years, they definitely started improving and growing, which is great to see. But it's also common sense. You train something that's going to get bigger. But in the past, I've only ever really done one or two accessory exercises on an upper body session for my arms when I did powerlifting. And so the growth potential for my arms is quite high relative to other body parts for me as an individual, because I haven't really hammered them with a lot of training or a lot of stimulus in the past. So I'm always experiencing newbie gains in my arms, even though I'm 10 years into training. But yeah, with arm training specifically, but all training in general, I really try to practice strict movement and strict technique. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with arms. They just don't adhere to a high enough level of technical proficiency and a high enough precision or level of execution to which they actually really do target their arms. Because if you get sloppy with your technique with anything, you're going to bring more and more muscles into the movement, which is obviously going to make it overall easier. You're going to be able to move more load, get more reps out, do overall more work. But is that work going to be contributing to additional growth in the actual desired muscle that you're trying to grow? Probably not. Some measurable degree, yes, because overall, if you move more load, there's hypothetically more potential for growth, but not necessarily localized growth, just overall growth. So if you really want to target your triceps or target your biceps or any muscle, target your chest, you really want to try make it as difficult as it can be. Like, my goal in the gym isn't to load up as much weight as I can and move it as effortlessly as I can. Like, I can go on a hack squat, for example, and I can put 6 or 7 plates aside on there and I can rep it out, but is that going to give me more quad growth than backing it off to 3 or 4 plates per side and really focusing on how I perform the movement? Probably not. And that's the thing, a lot of people get caught up in ego lifting, and they have too much pride to admit that they are ego lifting, and to their own detriment, they only hinder their own overall progress and results in the long term. I've always made the best gains when I've reduced the load a little bit, not substantially, but just reduced the weight a little bit and just focused on better execution of the exercise or the lift. For example, like in those tricep exercises I did before, I was only lifting 20 to 25 on the stack, and whether that's in pounds or kilos or some sort of arbitrary measurement, I'm not sure, I don't really care. At the end of the day, the weight you move or load you move is irrelevant. It's just, are you moving it effectively? Are you moving it well? Are you feeling tension in the localized muscle? Are you getting close to failure? Like, when you're doing your set, is the velocity or the speed of the reps slowing down while you maintain the same level of strictness with your technique? If it is, then you're getting close enough to failure to elicit growth. And if you're holding your technique together well enough that you feel localized tension in the muscle that you're trying to target, then you're going to be effectively training that muscle for growth. If not, then you're probably not training the muscle as effectively as you could for growth. Now, this exercise I just did here before the curls that I'm about to do, the inverted skull crushers, that is a phenomenal exercise. It's a body weight exercise. As you could have seen, I was doing it on the Smith machine, but I don't feel my triceps like that in anything else. It's just amazing. If you haven't tried it before, I definitely recommend giving it a go. If triceps are a lagging body part for you, again, be mindful that it's quite difficult. Even though it's a body weight exercise, doing a skull crusher with your own body weight is pretty difficult. And I'd recommend setting the bar quite high in the Smith machine to initially begin performing them, and then as that becomes easier as a form of progressive overload without even having to add more reps or add weighted vest to yourself or something like that, just simply lower the barbell down a little bit, 1 or 2 notches at a time on the Smith machine, and that will increase the level of resistance that you're applying to the triceps when you do that body weight skull crusher, the inverted skull crusher. But back to my little rant before, technique is paramount. Like, it's not everything, it's not the be all end all, but it's really important that you maintain consistency with your technique, or constantly strive to just improve it a little bit as a means of progressing the exercise week to week if you can't add load. Because reality is, if you've been lifting for any reasonable amount of time, any reasonable length of time, you're not going to be able to add weight to the bar every week. You're not going to be able to add reps to the bar every week. You've got to find other modalities to progress and to overload your exercises in your training. And the way I personally do that is I just focus on trying to improve technique. I'll keep the weight the same. Sometimes the reps might even go back 1 rep, but I'll try to keep the weight the same, try to keep the number of reps I perform the same as best as I can, or try add an extra rep. But above all, I'm just trying to improve my level of quote unquote mind to muscle connection and quality of execution from the previous week. So if I say did my curls last week for 3 sets of 10, And this week I only do them for 3 sets of 10 again, but I feel my biceps more. I'm able to get a better mind to muscle connection, and that is still progressive overload. Progressive overload doesn't have to just take the form of increasing weight on the bar each week, or increasing the number of reps you do, or increasing the total number of working sets you do on that exercise. But progressive overload can be as minuscule as just improving the quality of the reps that you already did in the previous week, this week. And that's something that really separates the great lifters from the good lifters, I think. The lifters who are great lifters, or the people that make great progress and build phenomenal physiques in the long term, are the ones that are able to separate themselves from their ego, not be afraid to be seen in the gym taking weight off the machine and performing it with quality performance, like being able to perform it with a quality level of execution, I should say. Like I said, I was using 25, let's just say it's pounds. I was using 25 pounds on the Triceps extension before. And I'm not a small guy. I'm also not going to be that egotistical dick and say I'm a massive guy. I'm reasonably built for how long I've been training. I'm about 245 pounds, I believe, or 245 to 250 pounds at the moment. I'm never good with the conversion from kilos to pounds, but I'm 112 kilo, 112.3 kilo here. And I'm 6'1", so I'm a reasonably built guy. But I'm only using 25 pounds on a damn tricep exercise. I know guys in the gym that weigh like 130 pounds soaking wet, or like 55 kilos soaking wet, and they're using the same amount of weight as me. I can guarantee they're not performing it to the same level of precision as I am, or getting the same amount out of it. And they would honestly benefit a lot more by halving the stack and doing a better quality set. And it stands true for so many people, and it stands true for myself. Sometimes I let my ego get in the way, but then I have to kind of check myself before I wreck myself, as the old quote goes, and just drop the weight back and focus on better quality reps. And as you can see here, really focusing on the tempo, focusing on that squeeze at the top. Overall, just really focusing on trying to improve the overall execution of the lift, regardless what it is. I don't care if it's a calf raise, I don't care if it's a hack squat, a bicep curl, a incline Smith press. If I'm doing an exercise, I'm trying to be 100% present in the moment. I'm not thinking about what so-and-so is doing over there. I'm not thinking about what so-and-so thinks if I drop the weight back, or how I'll look when I do something, or like if people are going to think I'm weird if I'm doing an exercise that not many people know about or do in the gym. I really don't give two shits what other people think. And I think that's also evident by the fact that I carry a camera around and film my damn self in the gym. Like, it takes a lot of, I suppose, lack of concern for others' opinions to do that. But yeah, what I want to say is you just need to be 100% present in the moment to really maximize and capitalize on making the best gains and best progress possible on any exercise in the gym, or any body part that you're training in the gym on that day. And yeah, just don't let it enter your mind for a split second or what other people might think. Drop the weight back if you need to improve the quality of the set, to be able to feel it better, to be able to get close to failure. And like you can see here, I'm getting close to failure, but I'm keeping my technique strict. If I let my technique get a bit sloppy, I probably could have pushed out another 4 or 5 reps. So really keep yourself honest. When you get close to the end of the set, when it starts getting hard, try and make the technique like more on point. And if you do that, you'll prevent it from slipping, and you'll prevent your technique from getting worse. But if you just don't think about your technique at all as the set gets harder, like subconsciously you're just going to start moving like crap without even realizing it. So just really be hard on yourself, and I mean, record your sets occasionally and watch them back. You might feel like a bit of a tool or a bit of a wanker. If you're not Australian, you're probably not familiar with that term, but you might just feel like a bit of a drop kick, a bit of a tool, or somebody who's up themselves if you're recording yourself in the gym. But I can guarantee if you do it, you'll be able to watch your set back, and you'll be able to see where you're slipping up, and you'll be able to cross-reference that with how the set felt to you when you did that set, which is something that no one else can tell you. And then determine whether or not you need to clean your technique up. Okay, so I'm finally home. That was my arm session. It was pretty good. The last couple of weeks I've had to rearrange the order of my exercises because I went to the gym in peak hour, but today I managed to get to the gym at my usual time that I like to train, which is kind of late morning, lunchtime. So I'm going to go prepare my post-workout meal now. I had cereal pre-workout, which I usually have post-workout, and pre-workout I usually have chicken and rice and vegetables, but I'm just doing it the other way around today. So here is my post-workout meal. This is usually my pre-workout meal, but I had my post-workout meal pre-workout today, which was my cereal. So this is my chicken and rice and vegetable meal. It's 200 grams of raw weight chicken breast, 250 grams of cooked weight basmati rice, and 200 grams of frozen vegetables, with 40 grams of no sugar added barbecue sauce and 10 grams of Frank's red hot buffalo wing sauce. Wash that down with a Pepsi Max. And so before I dive into this and eat this, I figured I'd just give you a few pointers on pre and post workout nutrition. So they generally follow the same guidelines. You basically want a meal pre-workout or post-workout that is highly digestible for you as an individual, so foods that you tolerate and digest very well. You want something that's relatively low in fiber, so it helps speed up the gastric passing rate or the gastric emptying rate, the rate at which the food is obviously going into your mouth and out the other end. You want something that is relatively high in carbohydrates, relatively low in fat, and then something that's relatively moderate to high in protein too. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter what foods you eat as long as they sit well with you and as long as they meet those kind of criteria, those requirements. But they're the guidelines I kind of give people for pre and post workout nutrition. If you're going to have something intra workout, I mean, sipping on something like Gatorade, some simple sugars, or if you're training fasted, say you didn't have a pre-workout meal, some essential amino acids coupled with some simple sugars like Gatorade or whatever you prefer. That's probably how I'd approach intra-workout nutrition, but pre and post-workout quite similar, therefore they're quite interchangeable, so it's not a big deal that I had my post-workout meal pre-workout today, the cereal and whatnot, and then my pre-workout meal post-workout. They follow similar guidelines in terms of the structure of the overall meals, but I'm going to enjoy this. Watch a little bit of Young Sheldon. So if you did enjoy the video, guys, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Until then, peace.